Hi everybody, welcome to this web chat with Fiona Windle, Head of Nutrition at Beef and Lamb New Zealand during World Iron Awareness Week. This web chat's brought to you by Meat Businesswoman, Beef and Lamb New Zealand and Global Meat Alliance, and it aims to give you some insight into the World Iron Week campaign and how your organisation can get involved. And I'm really pleased to be talking to an expert on this particular subject matter today. Fiona's a registered nutritionist and head of nutrition for the domestic beef and lamb marketing arm in New Zealand. As a natural collaborator, she brings a passion from the fields of science and communication and extensive networks to feed into the domestic marketing strategy of the New Zealand beef and lamb sector. So thanks so much for joining us today, Fiona.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Can you sort of explain a little bit more about World Iron Week and the value the campaign holds?
Yeah, so World Iron Awareness Week is all about raising awareness about iron deficiency. This is the most common nutrient deficiency globally. And so us here in Beef and Lamb New Zealand and down at the bottom of the world, promote the campaign to really get people starting a conversation about how they're feeling. And that's because the common signs and symptoms of iron deficiency are things like feeling tired, feeling irritable or grumpy, and often these are the things that people feel when they have a busy lifestyle. And so it's quite easy to ignore those symptoms. And for a lot of us, particularly in women, we're juggling a lot with our lifestyles, and we often don't put our health and wellness first. We often prioritize others. And so really this campaign is just to get a conversation going, tuning into how people are feeling, because low iron can really affect your everyday quality of life.
And do you think there's a difficulty in promoting meat as a choice to maintain healthy iron levels to consumers that might start to look more and more alternative or plant-based proteins?
Yeah, I mean, we know that females are often the people that influence what a household purchases and consumes for their everyday diet, and so that's going to impact on what food people have access to. But with the campaign, with Beef and Lamb New Zealand facilitating that campaign, and our nutrition team, we want to ensure that we provide advice and tips that are realistic for everyday people. So when we shape that advice and the tips around ensuring a nutritious diet that happens to be iron rich, rather than just honing in on single foods, and yes, of course, red meat is one of the richest sources of iron. People don't eat those foods in isolation. We eat meals and we eat those nutritious recipes that we enjoy every day. So we shape their education to be practical and realistic around bringing those quality ingredients together for a balanced diet. And so we're also looking at other quality proteins. So we like to shine a light on red meat. It's been a great source, but we also work with our partners with pork, venison, also with seafood and vegetables that complement those iron-rich foods because they bring the vitamin C for absorption. So it's really about equipping consumers with those choices, because the reality is we want people to eat a variety of quality, nutritious ingredients, of which animal source foods like red meat is a part of that iron-rich dietary pattern.
Thank you. And you've been a part of the World Iron Week campaign since its inception. What are the campaigns that have been most effective in communicating the nutritional value of meat to consumers, and why have they been so effective?
Yeah, so this campaign as it stands has been running for about 9 years, but actually the history of iron as part of red meat's nutrition credentials sort of spans back about 30 years for Beef and Lamb New Zealand, and probably much like other meat industries around the world. And we really see iron as being the jewel in the crown for those red meat credentials, which are really undeniable. In terms of the campaigns that have been successful for us over the years, and even before World Iron Awareness Week, was ones that use really strong visuals. So there's quite a popular visual that people still talk about to this day, is demonstrating those two types of iron. There's the heme iron that's well absorbed from animal foods like red meat, of which your body absorbs really well, and then the non-heme iron that you'd typically find in plant foods. And the visual we used years ago on a TV campaign and still use in our resources shows that to get the same amount of absorbable iron, you need to eat about 19 cups of silver beet or spinach compared to a moderate 150 gram serve of a beef steak. So that strong visual, people understand, because it's quite a complex nuance around nutrient availability. But when you show that comparison, people kind of get it. These days, we don't use that as a TV campaign, but I think that visual sticks with people and it resonates with them. Another success that we've had here in New Zealand is using sports ambassadors. So aligning ourselves with successful female athletes that have gone on to get medals at the Commonwealth Games and the Olympics. And these young, healthy, fit women are great endorsements for our product, and particularly with our stakeholders, they have been great with championing that nutrition story for red meat.
And how can our audience today better promote the role of meat in a healthy diet and in iron levels?
Well, I guess we all in the meat industry, we know there are, headwinds that we're facing. There are sort of some voices and agendas that are, potentially confusing some consumers about getting them questioning about where red meat fits in our modern diets. But I think this is a real opportunity for our industry. When there's headwinds and challenges, there's obviously always opportunities. And I think I said it earlier, is that the red meat credentials red meat's nutrition credentials are undeniable, and we need to really use that to underpin our value story. Obviously, we have, taste, experience, and flavor that people enjoy about red meat, but I think nutrition has to be part of that value story. And so for those of us that are working in communications or in marketing or across the whole supply chain for that matter, I'd encourage us, when we're looking at our market insights for each of our countries, or our target audiences, to really drill down to understand what does value mean to consumers. It's more than just price, but what are all those other values, and where does nutrition fit within, in terms of where it fits for them as a consumer. And I think if we can really pride ourselves about it being such a quality product with those other attributes like taste, we're on to a winner.
And are there opportunities for the Meat Businesswomen Network to use World Iron Week to champion the consumption of meat in the diet of pockets of the population that are perhaps reducing it or removing it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So as I've already mentioned, we've got this quality nutrient-dense product that plays a key role in the health of everybody. And in particular, there are people in all of our nations that are more at risk of going low in iron. So that includes children, in particular young children. So babies and toddlers are going through this really crucial part of their life where their brain is developing, and iron plays a key role in that. And you may have heard the term the first 1,000 days, and that's from the time a child is first conceived to when they're about 2 years old or become a toddler. And that is a really crucial time where optimum nutrition is going to have an impact on their development, and iron is a part of that story. We also have older children like teenagers, so they're going through a time of growth, particularly young girls. When they're going through a growth spurt, they start to menstruate, and if they're active, they need to ensure that they're getting a really nutritious diet which has optimum iron levels. Women are more at risk, again, because we have those monthly losses, and we can tend to go, or not we, but some women tend to go on diets that may be a bit restrictive or removing some foods, and often can go short on those key nutrients. Older adults, appetite has been reduced, so they're making sure that every bite counts with nutrient dense foods. And of course athletes, because of performance, you need better nutrition, because it's performing at your top, at a top level requires top nutrition. So they are some of those key people in your population that you need to think about if you're going to be really driving a strong nutrition message. And so I guess with those people in mind, is perhaps like choosing one that you might want to focus on and partnering perhaps with some health organizations, which is what we've done, is looking at where you might have some aligned messages, and not rather than it just being a sole voice, looking at that collaboration. I'd also encourage, if you have your own nutrition experts on staff or within your network, to work closely with them to ensure that messaging is relevant and evidence-based for the long term. So because we know consumers are very discerning, and whilst we know that they are trusting of the science, particularly in this COVID world, sometimes they might question the messaging from the industry. So it pays to have those people that are qualified to bring that evidence-based messaging around nutrition. And really, those nutrition experts often have their own established channels that you can tap into and have that voice amplified. So I'm really excited that this is the 9th year of the campaign, and would love to have more of the Meet Businesswoman members on board. It's not too late. I mean, the campaign's running this week, but there's a bunch of social assets ready to use. They just need uploading and placed on your platforms via the Global Meet Alliance platform that we'll share with this video. There'll be a link to their website. And also our ironweek.co.nz website hosts a bunch of resources that, whilst they've been created in New Zealand, a lot of them are really generic and general tips for people to enjoy our quality product and get a boost of iron on the way. And we just ask that if you do get on social media, to use the hashtag World Iron Week, and we can all have a unified and amplified voice to help our consumers lead healthier lives.
That's brilliant. Thanks so much for your time today, Fiona.
Thank you.